Fearless leadership in the digital age. Hook, let me ask you something bold. What does it really mean to lead in a world where the rules are constantly being rewritten by code? We're living in a time where innovation happens before the meeting even ends, where your team is half remote, half AI curious, and 100% waiting for leadership that gets it. The old playbook? Burn it. Because fearless leadership in the digital age is not about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions before the rest of the world catches up. The rise of the digital leader. Let's paint the picture. The boardroom looks the same, but the battlefield? Completely different. In the past, leadership was about authority, experience, seniority, predictability. Today, the terrain shifts daily, sometimes hourly, and leaders are expected not just to react, but to reimagine. The old rules, they're crumbling. Top-down control has given way to collaborative chaos. The most effective leaders aren't the loudest in the room. They're the most adaptive. Digital leadership means leading when the script hasn't been written yet. It's about trusting your team enough to let go of micromanagement and empowering them to take initiative in the face of ambiguity. And let's be honest, that kind of trust, it's rare. But the leaders of tomorrow won't be remembered for how tightly they held on. They'll be remembered for what they unleashed. Because in a world of exponential tech and infinite updates, your greatest asset isn't control. It's culture. A culture where innovation flows freely. Where agility isn't a buzzword, it's baked in. A culture where leadership is less about hierarchy and more about catalyzing human potential. The digital age demands courage. Let's get one thing straight. We're not just dealing with digital transformation, we're dealing with information warfare. Fake news, deepfakes, bots, viral misinformation, they're not side effects. They're features of the current landscape, and they make truth negotiable. That's why fearless leadership today means developing teams who don't just consume content, they interrogate it. As a leader, your job isn't to be the fact-checker-in-chief. It's to build teams who can think critically, spot patterns, and navigate complexity with clarity. And that clarity? It starts with you. Because in the face of uncertainty, your transparency becomes their compass. Gone are the days when leaders had to be bulletproof. Now, your team wants to see your process, not your perfection. They don't need a flawless superhero. They need a real one. A leader who's honest when they don't know, vulnerable enough to say, let's figure this out together. Bold enough to put ethics before optics, especially when nobody's watching. Because here's the truth. The digital age doesn't just need speed, it needs soul. And fearless leaders? They lead not just with vision, but with values, empowering teams in the digital age. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Most teams today are overloaded with tools, but starved for meaning. Slack, Zoom, Notion, Trello, Miro, you name it. But if you're not careful, you'll end up with a team that's connected, but not aligned. That's where digital leadership comes in. Not to throw more tools into the mix, but to use them with intention. Want to empower your team? Then lead with one question. How can I make it easier for my people to do their best work? Give them tools that enhance clarity, not just speed. Use platforms that foster feedback and transparency, not just task tracking. Make time for face-to-face, even in remote environments, to remind everyone they're not just usernames, they're humans. But it's not just about tech. It's about mindset. Empowered teams are learning teams. So don't just hire talent, invest in it. Create cultures where upskilling is the norm, not the exception. Where it's okay to say, I don't know how to do this yet. Where learning isn't a checkbox, it's a superpower. And if your team is diverse, even better. Because in a digital world, diversity isn't just ethical, it's strategic. Different minds see different problems. Different voices offer different solutions. And inclusive teams, they win. So as a leader, your job isn't just to make space, it's to amplify every voice in it. Because when people feel seen and supported, they don't just show up. They light up. Fearless leaders. The future of work. Here's where it gets real. AI isn't coming for the future of work. It's already here. Automating tasks, analyzing data, writing code, even designing user interfaces. And you've got two choices. 1, panic. 2, prepare. Fearless leaders choose option 2. They don't resist the change, they ride it. They look at AI and ask, how can this free my people to do more human things? Empathy, creativity, strategy, innovation. The future of work belongs to those who adapt faster than they fear. But adaptation doesn't happen by accident. It happens because leaders invest in learning, in systems, and in people. Start by rethinking what a skilled team member looks like. It's no longer just degrees and credentials. It's curiosity. It's flexibility. It's the willingness to reskill, reimagine, and re-enter the arena again and again. And above all, the future demands purpose-driven leadership. Because people don't just want a paycheck. They want to belong to something that matters. They want leaders who stand for something. Who link daily tasks to a larger mission. Who connect innovation not just to profit, but to progress. So if you want to lead the future, lead with purpose, lead with vision, and lead with the belief that your best work is still ahead of you. Creating a culture of fearlessness. Let's get one thing straight. You don't build fearless teams by telling people to be brave. You build fearless teams by making it safe to be real. Fearless cultures aren't loud. They're honest. They're built in those tiny moments when someone says, I messed up, and the reply isn't judgment. It's curiosity. They grow when a junior team member dares to challenge the norm, and the leader doesn't shut it down but says, tell me more. That's psychological safety, and it's not soft. It's strategic, because innovation doesn't come from people who are afraid to speak. It comes from people who know they'll be heard. So as a fearless leader, ask yourself, am I rewarding experimentation, even when it fails? Am I creating space for dissent and dialogue? Am I modeling humility as much as decisiveness? Because if you want innovation, you have to build a runway for risk. And if you want growth, you have to let people stretch, even when it's messy. This is where the growth mindset kicks in. Celebrate the tough projects that didn't work. Praise the attempt, not just the outcome. Let your team know, we don't expect perfect, we expect progress. And when you, the leader, own your growth publicly, that gives your team permission to do the same. Fearless leadership isn't about being fearless. It's about leading anyway. It's about creating a culture where people don't shrink to fit. They expand to lead. Final takeaway. The digital age doesn't need louder leaders. It needs braver ones. Braver in how you show up. Braver in what you stand for. Braver in how you create room for others to lead with you. So here's the invitation. Be the kind of leader who builds bridges, not silos. Who empowers, not controls. Who listens deeply, adapts quickly, and leads with humanity at the center. Because technology is evolving fast. But character? That's timeless. And courage? That's contagious. The future of leadership is already here. It's you. So step forward, show up fully, and lead like the world you want to build is already on its way. Because it is, and it's waiting on your voice. Let's go.